Welcome, and thanks for watching our System Settings Basics training. Let's get started. By the end of this training, you'll have an understanding on how to set up and utilize system settings. We have a great training lined up today targeting top common questions our customers are asking our support team. We are here to show you system settings are not intimidating and very important to prevent headaches. In today's training, we will be highlighting questions you may have had yourself, and we're going to show you how to spend less time waiting on hold with support and being able to answer questions on your own simply by switching a few settings and doing some troubleshooting. Our training today will focus on some system settings our customers often overlook and also show you how our customers are applying these settings at their businesses and in their accounts. And then we will cover appointment settings and we'll share important troubleshooting steps our support team recommends for all users to take regarding the calendar. Let's jump into our very first story. I just hired a new employee and want to learn how to give them access to book and take payments. This is a very common question. Entering employees into the system may have been something we did when we signed up with Booker, but new hires are a common experience throughout the lifespan of any business. First, you would want to create the employee profile and create the login for the employee as well. And while we can create employees and logins within the same step, if you've already created your employees separately, we can create the login independently. And our first step would be to go into System Settings and then look to our list of settings on the left for logins. Click there. Once we're on the logins page, we'll click the New User button. When we enter the new login, we must fill out these required fields that have red asterisks towards the top, and then we're going to select the role that we wish to give this employee for their login. Now, this particular customer story highlighted that this employee will be booking appointments and taking payment. And the ideal role for those functionalities would be that reservationist role. Unless you're creating an admin login, it is required to attach the login to an employee profile. You will then have a list of permissions appear down below. It's important that you take time to go over these permissions to restrict actions you would not want your employees to take. For example, if you would want a front desk staff to process refunds or not. At the bottom of this page, we'll create the login credentials. And as the admin, setting up your employee logins is important to protect your account and to protect your business. And a good practice that most admins take after they create a new login for the system, they log in with that themselves just to make sure that their staff members are seeing the system in the way that the admin wants them to. And they'll be able to see what the staff member would have access to, and the admin can make any changes if needed before the staff member does have access. And always make sure here we'll click Submit to save the work. Still on the topic of logins, another customer story that comes in frequently is this one. I had an employee recently leave my business. How can I block their access to my account in order to protect my business? And the answer is really simple. Delete their login. This will remove their access to your Booker account. So we can go into System Settings, back into the Logins page, and then once we're on the Logins page, if we look to the far right under the Actions column, we will see the option to delete every single login here. And as a secondary security step, we'd recommend that you also reset everyone's passwords when you are deleting a login of another employee. If you would like to learn more about logins and user roles, please register for our Login and User Roles training on the Support Center. Moving on to our next customer story. I run a cryotherapy center. I want to have my rooms displayed at all times on my calendar to schedule appointments. We service a lot of different types of businesses in the beauty, health, and wellness industry. And for some of you, upon logging in, The best practice might be to view your rooms rather than your employees. This is particularly a common practice for cryotherapy businesses. The resolution to this story lies in a different area of system settings. We can head on over to general settings. Don't forget general settings. We can click on and have a whole list of settings within there. And we're going to focus on the calendar section here in general settings. This gives us the setting where we have the opportunity to switch our default view of the calendar from staff to rooms or vice versa. Staff is the default view. But if we switch it from here and save it to the rooms view, now anytime I sign in and I go to my calendar, I will see my rooms displayed on the calendar first, and I would be able to book appointments based on my room availability. Let's look at another story. I have skin treatments at my business and want to keep track of my customers' progress with pictures. Is there a way I can store customer photos in Booker? In general settings, within the customers section, we can enable a customer photo tab. This is a great idea to record your employees' work and remind customers of their experience and progress. You can even request permission from your customers to market their pictures on your social media sites for other customers to see. Once this setting is activated, you will find a Photos tab at the far right of the customer profile where these pictures can be uploaded and stored. Our next story. I'm looking to make some changes for the new year. I want to implement a bi-weekly schedule for all my employees. How can I set this up? General settings is once again our resource for finding the answer. Under Employee Schedule, we have options to make these types of schedule changes. Booker lets us have employees scheduled on a weekly, bi-weekly, or a 4-week basis. If you are looking to implement any changes, head on over to General Settings to make these updates. Our story highlighted a bi-weekly schedule. Once enabled in General Settings, this is what it will look like in the Schedules tab. We now have a week 1 and a week 2. This is widely used by businesses that have employees that work every other weekend. A lot easier for you to set it up with a bi-weekly schedule than have to change a weekly schedule every other week. We are normally closed on Sundays, but I want to open my shop for just one Sunday next month. How can I do that? We find a lot of questions come in about hours of operation. Business hours can definitely be updated when needed. Our customer here is looking to make a change for a specific date, but without altering her business hours or her default business hours. Start by going to the Location Info page within System Settings. This is where we will find and change our hours of operation. We can click the pencil icon within the Hours of Operation section to do this. In Hours of Operation, we want to use the Select Week dropdown at the top. Then we can use the dropdown to find the week range that we're looking to change hours for. When we're looking to make changes for one specific date, we would use the week range it falls within. Then we'll use the drop-downs for the open and close times to make adjustments, and we would just want to remember to save our changes to update the calendar. After updating business hours, a second step that a lot of merchants skip is making sure you have employees available to fulfill those hours. So we can go to the Schedules tab, not the employee's profile. We can update the week from the drop-down here, and then we can click onto the employee that we want to change their schedule. Once in the employee's page, we want to follow the same method as in hours of operation. Make sure that week in the Select Week dropdown is still correct. Use these dropdowns to indicate if this is going to be a work day or a day off, if we're changing that. We can use these dropdowns if it is a work day to enter their start and end times. Entering in a lunch is always optional. Click Save down below to finish. Staying on top of appointments being booked is important. Let's look at a different story. As the owner, I want my staff to be alerted when a new appointment is booked for them. Internal notifications are the alerts sent to your employees about new appointments, cancellations, and changes. These are set up within system settings. If we allow customers to book online, we can set those notifications here in Customer Bookings on the left. The notifications on the right are sent out for internal bookings only. These are alerts for appointments booked by either you or your staff when logged in. Take time to read through all the notifications that can be sent out. There are notifications to set up here that are not related to appointments, but admins may still want to receive these. The next thing to pay attention to here is who will be receiving the notification and how to send it. The first option you'll see here is Service Provider. This is the employee that the appointment is booked with. Selecting Admin will send an alert to everyone that has an admin role for their login, and it's the same for reservationist and staff. Those alerts will go out to anyone that has a reservationist or a staff login for the Booker account. And you can see that all of those different roles, you can send the alert by email or by SMS, which is text message, and it can be sent both ways. And if you wish to have all of these alerts just sent out to one email, maybe you want to have a history of everything in one place, then you can enter it in the other field there. Also, pay close attention to this general setting area here. You can choose a set number of days that internal SMS messages go out. And when you're finished, click Save. If you are using SMS notifications or text notifications, just be sure that you have the proper setup for your employees in their profile. Otherwise, the system won't know where to send the text notification to if the mobile phone information is not entered in correctly. In the employee profile, you want to have their mobile number. That SMS box should be checked. Mobile number should be selected as their preferred phone as well. And if you see a drop-down for the wireless service provider like Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile, you do have to choose the service provider. If you don't see that service provider drop-down, you don't need to worry about it. That will depend on your subscription level of Booker. A customer recently asked to have their profile deleted from my Booker account. Is this possible? This is a newer setting that you may not have noticed yet. And if we go to System Settings, General Settings, and look for the Customer section, we will find the setting, Allow Customers to Delete Their Account. And if we enable it, we will then have to select an account admin from that drop-down menu that appears. And this will be the admin that's going to receive these requests to delete accounts. Make sure that the admin we are selecting in that setting has a valid email address entered here within their login setup. And here's an example of the email that the admin would receive once a customer requests to delete their account online. And when we go to the customer's profile that requested to have it deleted, we will see this red banner notification. If the customer has open appointments, we will have to cancel them before we proceed to delete the profile. If they have open orders, it's recommended to close them out, but you can proceed to delete if you'd like. If we select the option to cancel their delete request, we can confirm it from here. And then the customer's profile would go back to normal. When we have the setting enabled, we will also find the option to delete a customer account at the bottom of the Details tab in the customer's profile. So customers can request this internally. They can make the request online as well. Now let's say we don't run into any issues when we are deleting a customer's account. From the pop-up, we'll click Proceed. Here we'll check off the boxes, type in the word delete in that field, and then click the Delete Now button to complete. And we will always get this message confirming the account's been deleted. Our second half is going to focus on appointment settings. We'll cover some calendar navigation and troubleshooting tips, and we'll continue to share customer stories and answers. I had an appointment booked in a slot that was already taken by another customer. How did this happen? This is by far one of the most common customer stories. I am sure many of you today watching this can relate to this issue. You may have run into this yourselves and have had an appointment double booked, and you may already know the answer. The answer lies within our appointment settings. Allow resource overbooking allows appointments to be double booked internally. So when it's set to yes, the calendar will allow for second appointments to be booked with that same employee or room. While most businesses have this setting turned off, our data analysis shows that some businesses prefer to have control over double bookings internally because they may have an extra set of hands like a stylist assistant to help out with additional services. Okay, so who booked this appointment? And of course, you want to take that extra step to find out who booked it. Booker makes it easy to find that out. We can right-click on an appointment from the calendar. From the right-click menu, we're going to hover over the View option, and from the additional pop-out, we're going to select to view the appointment. And here in the View Appointment page, we are looking for the created date. And to the right of that date, we see our history icon. It's that clock with the arrow going around it. We're going to see the history icon throughout the system. And if we're wondering which employee booked this, we can view this history to find out. When we click on the history for the appointment, we will get the history pop-up that stamps the date and time and the user that was logged in making actions. We can think of this history as our audit trail, great for accountability, and another reason why Booker recommends creating separate logins for each and every employee. We can use this method to audit our orders as well. A couple of common questions that can be answered using the appointment history are, who canceled this appointment or who moved it? And you have heard me say just within this training alone that we recommend separate logins for your employees. And auditing is the main reason why. With separate logins and making sure that employees are using their own logins and not using someone else's, the appointment history will accurately record who made these changes. Why did the system allow an appointment to be booked when there was already an appointment scheduled? I checked my overbooking setting and it's turned off. How did this happen? Our customer here has already checked the resource setting and saw that everything's correct. So let's figure out what happened. Now here in this example, these appointments are both booked for future dates. And notice this appointment for Nicole is grayed out, which means that the appointment was paid for in advance and closed in the system. And when an appointment is closed out before the actual scheduled date, the system understands that service as being delivered in the system. Therefore, it frees up that time slot, which would allow for a new appointment to be booked online. Internally, we would know to not book another appointment there, but there's nothing stopping the online booking site from making this an available time slot. Whether you're using V1 or V2, if you will be taking prepayments or partial payments in advance, use Take Deposit rather than Take Payment Checkout. With Take Deposit, the appointment will remain open and block those double bookings, but you're still able to fully charge the customer whatever amount you make the deposit for. I had a customer come in today saying she had an appointment at 3 p.m. The appointment is nowhere to be found on my calendar. If you're having trouble finding an appointment immediately in your staff view, we recommend using the drop-down and check your rooms view. In some instances, you will find your appointment in the rooms view. Notice the appointment here does not have an employee assigned to it. This may be due to an appointment setting not set up correctly. When customers call in with similar cases, our first investigating step is to check this setting, Require Staff on Availability Search in Appointment Settings. When this is set to No, the system will allow appointments to be booked without a staff member. This setting is particularly useful, especially if you are a business like a cryotherapy center or a float spa that don't require the availability of staff members. And another investigating step to take is within the service setup itself. At the bottom of the service info, we will find a similar setting to the one we just looked at. Do not require staff on availability search. When this setting is enabled, we're basically telling the system that we will not require a staff member for this one service, regardless of how that other setting is set. We can use this setting if we have one or two services, maybe like a sauna or a hot tub, that don't require a staff available, but we do offer services like massages or manicures as well. Just keep in mind, if the service does require a staff member, you want to make sure to leave this unchecked. I'm trying to book an appointment, but I keep getting an error message. Now, this error can actually be resolved in just a few minutes. Booking errors can occur for a number of reasons, and it's not always the same. The activity occurring on the calendar, it can sometimes cause a delay or a crossover. For example, if someone clicked on this time slot to open the new appointment bubble, by the time I click on it, the system might still register that time as unavailable. And when customers are booking online, they are given about 10 minutes to complete their bookings. And during that time, the calendar is holding that time slot, which may also give you this error. And in numerous other occasions, booking errors are due to incorrect service, employee, or room setup. If you are having trouble booking an appointment, start with these tips. Switch on over to the rooms view. Check if your room is available. Perhaps there's already another appointment booked in the room you're trying to book in currently, and you need to accommodate somewhere else. Check to see if the employee is attached to the service. This error will show up if the employee is not attached to the service within the service settings. Is the room attached to the service? Rooms, like employees, are important to the calendar. If the room is not attached to the service, the system will not allow for this appointment to be booked. And if all that is correct, we can go to the Find Appointment page, and within the left sidebar, we will see the button Clear Incomplete Appointments. Clicking that will clear any incomplete appointments that may be preventing us from booking hours. I had an appointment booked today for a service my stylist does not perform. I want to know how this happened. And service setup is really important. You can avoid many booking headaches by making sure your services are assigned to the correct staff members. You want to remove staff members assigned to a service that no longer perform it. If you're having trouble booking an appointment, or if the system is giving you an error message, it's most likely because the employee is not assigned to the service. And if you have multiple rooms at your business, you also want to make sure your services are attached to the correct rooms. You wouldn't want to have a massage service booked in a manicure station, for example. And in order to prevent that, you can start here. Just click on Edit to make any necessary adjustments. As a business owner, it's important to have my cancellation policy enforced at all times. I want to know how my staff can hold credit card information for a reservation to use in case the customer cancels. Both versions of Booker can securely hold credit card information as we book appointments. This payment tab of the new appointment bubble will securely hold the credit card information, so that way you can charge it if the customer cancels. Let's look at a few more cases. I recently canceled an appointment, and now I cannot find it in my calendar. Where did it go? A canceled appointment will be removed from the calendar, but we can locate the canceled appointment, or any appointment for that matter, from our Find Appointments page in the Appointments tab. In the Find Appointment page, we can use the Status dropdown to filter out the canceled appointments in the account. And it's also important to have the correct date range selected from the dropdown here. As a business owner, it's important to have control over no-shows. I lose money when customers don't show up for appointments they book. I want to find a way to stay on top of no-shows. In appointment settings, you can enable an overall alert that will show up if a customer has a certain number of no-shows. This is important if your customers are booking appointments but unwilling to leave credit card information. With the alert enabled, the system will alert you and your staff members that this customer has the tendency to no-show as soon as you enter their name into a new appointment. And at this point, you can communicate to the customer your no-show policy or take a different management approach. Some of my senior staff members complete a service a bit faster than the rest. As a Booker admin, I want to set up different service durations and prices for my senior staff. And a lot of our salon merchants take advantage of the individual staff pricing and duration feature. This allows you to book appointments for individual staff members without having to adjust the time it takes them to do the service or any special pricing. To enable staff-dependent pricing and durations, we will first go to Appointment Settings, look for the setting called Enable Staff-Dependent Pricing and Durations, set it to Yes, and save. Then go to your services, click on Review for the services you wish to set up individual pricing and durations for. Within the individual service itself, click on Edit in the Employee section. Click on the tab at the top for Service Info by Staff. All you need to do from here is click on the pencil icon at the far right to enter in the special price and duration of this service for any staff member you need to change it for. And any staff member that is left blank, they will be set to the default service price and duration. Our final customer case for the day is regarding processing time. When a customer books an appointment for highlights, I need Booker to allow my employee to service a different customer while the color is processing. Processing time is space on the calendar in the middle of any service that requires a wait period. We typically think of hair color services when we talk about processing time. When you build processing time into a service, you can apply settings that free up that employee and also free up that room for other appointments while the customer waits. And here's an example of how a service with processing time left open for other employees to take other appointments will look on the calendar. You'll see that gap there. We can set this up within the service itself. First, go to Services. Next, click Review for the services you wish to set up processing time for. In the service itself, we will see the section to set up the overall duration of the service. The setting requires processing time should be set to Yes, like we see here. Next, we need to set up the time it takes to start, process, and finish the service. Now, if we want the processing time as booked on the calendar, which will prevent other appointments from being booked with the employee, you want to check off the box for staff. If we want that processing time left open on the calendar, so that way the employee is free for other appointments, we want to leave this box unchecked for staff, just like we see it currently. And it works the same for the room. If we want to block other appointments from being booked in the room, check the box for room. But if we want to free the room for other appointments, because our customers can go and sit in the waiting area or at a blow-dry chair, we can leave this unchecked. And now we're just going to touch on some final troubleshooting tips. Having multiple tabs of Booker open is not recommended. Prevent any information from being lost by keeping only one tab open. And you just want to think about each time the system is open in the browser, it is its own communication pathway. And if the system is open more than once in the browser, those communication pathways can get mixed up, and that information, that data that's going through the system can get misplaced or lost. You can have it open once in Firefox and also open once in Chrome, just never twice in the same browser. If you ever need to refresh Booker, click on another tab or page within the system itself and then go back to the page you were trying to refresh. For example, if I wanted to refresh the calendar here, I would want to click the Customers tab and then go back into the Appointments tab and refresh the system that way. We should never be using the browser's back, forward, or refresh buttons. For the same reason, we should not use Booker more than once in the same browser. That data that you're pushing through the system can get mixed up. If you are curious to learn about all of Booker's system requirements, please check out our Support Center article. Just search for Systems Requirements. If you have any further questions about Booker, the Support Center is available 24/7, and you can get there by clicking on Support from the top right of your account or by going to help.booker.com. Here we can use the search field to find answers to your Booker questions. A search will show a list of articles related to the words used in it. We also have the Training Center right on the Support homepage. The New to Booker section is a collection of articles to help our new users get started with the basics. We have training videos that can be watched on demand. And remember the live virtual trainings we offer. These live virtual trainings are offered Mondays through Fridays and are free and unlimited for you and your staff to take. They cover a variety of Booker topics, and you can come directly to the Support Center to get registered. If you have any new employees that need to be trained on the Booker system, get them signed up for these trainings and let the Booker training team train your new hires on how to use the software. That's it for this training. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in our future live trainings. Have a good day.